Hello, 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 everyone. Yes, 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 it's finally here. Yes, it's time for the virtual book launch for Unspoken with my main lady, Miss Candace Sanchez. Say hello to everyone, Candace.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining live tonight on this Friday. Fantastic Friday is what I would call today.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we're glad to have you on, Candace. Some of the people are coming on, of course, because we're going live. We want to give time for people to come on, but those who will be watching the rebroadcast as well, we just want them to know a little bit about Unspoken. But before we go any deeper, I just want to just read and just share a little bit about you, Candace. Is that they will be able to hear the bio, they will be able to get the information on the book. But to me, it's a big word out there, and it just being resilient. That's something when we're getting close, we're on the cusp for another year. All the things that a lot of us have been through in the 2020 season at the time of this recording. But being resilient is something that, with all the accolades that you have, and the accomplishments and things like that, and the lives that you've been able to impact, I think what aligns with everyone when they think about you is just being resilient, whether it's in the profession that you're in, who you are as a mother or whatnot, and just now here it is that you are an author. Round of applause, everyone virtually. Let's go ahead, let's get some round of applause out there. And so, this is thing that's really amazing. So, hi Tara. I see Tara's responding. I'm gonna go ahead and post that. These are the things that we want to for those who are listening, because even though we're celebrating this time, the reason I brought up being resilient is because when you hear the story of Unspoken and you see Candace Sanchez, you have to understand, for those out there who are going through a tough time, you're dealing with having to fight your way out, overcoming mental blocks, hurdles, mental abuse, physical abuse, what you name it, being furloughed, wondering what you're going to do, the stimulus check not coming in fast enough. We're all going through something. So, Candace, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're glad to have you here. And if you don't mind, just share with us a little bit about you, and then we'll go further into your book launch.
Absolutely. Thank you, Darren, again for having me today. And thanks, everybody, whoever's joining. I really appreciate all your love and support. Candace Sanchez, born and raised here, city of Racine, Wisconsin. I'm a Wisconsin girl. Go, Pack, go. I come from humble beginnings. I was born and raised in Racine. My mom, was a single mom and then got married. And then, I was embraced by a big family. My mom comes from a big family, and then she married into a big family. So, went to a private school, started into the workforce. I was a young mom. I got pregnant when I was 18. I had my first child when I was 18, had my second daughter by the time I was 19. So 2 kids at a very young age, but really just as far as I'm concerned, you can do whatever you need to do. Just keep striving forward. And I'm just so grateful that I finally reached this step. This has been a long time coming. And, I'm just a proud Latina woman. I've grown into this professional healthcare IT professional. COVID 2020 is like our new norm, and so I just really appreciate everyone attending in this virtual platform to just show support for me and, everybody in Racine, Wisconsin. I hope I'm representing well. I'm looking forward to this journey. I really am. So thank you. Thanks, Darren, for, again, letting me just share a little bit about myself, where I come from, a little bit about my background, and, just grateful to be here. Just really blessed to be here.
That's it. That's it. And I really appreciate you sharing that. Just one thing though, we're gonna have to really, really work on is we're gonna have to just change that Go Pack to Go Cowboys. We're gonna have to. And by the way, for all the people who are watching in Wisconsin, it was a catch. Des Bryant still caught the ball, so I'm gonna let that go because it's Candace night. We're not gonna go down that road for the people of whatnot, Wisconsin. I love you. But we're still suffering from that incident or whatnot. But we're going to overcome. We're going to overcome. Now, when it comes to Unspoken, I want those who are listening to this, because you heard Candace bring it up, that this has been a journey. This wasn't something that was just easily done. You heard what I brought up. The word that comes to mind when I think about her is about being resilient. You just heard her share her story of the importance of whatnot of being young as a mother, but being resilient with that as well, far as not giving up. Continue to add to what she does, far as getting understanding of what direction she needs to go. She could have easily, made a bunch of excuses, but she chose to get results. So as we continue to look at her, whether it's in the IT area, some of the things she's doing with healthcare, we just see that it's the resilience, continuing to find a way to make it through. And so with that being said, I want to go through the book process right now, if you don't mind, Candace. I want to go there for the people who are listening. Take us back a little bit. You had this amazing story, but let's go back to, when did you actually realize, or what was the epiphany or the aha moment where you realized, I'm going to write the book? Not, I know I got a story, not, one day, but what was the moment? Who were you talking to? What was the turn of events that led you down this road?
Right. So so I'll say this. I remember in the 90s, I had the vision of, I want to write a book, right? I thought about being a writer and never knew how to do it. And then the idea came to life when I was talking to a couple of my friends just about, they were asking me, how come I don't have a boyfriend? How come I'm not married? What's your story? And at that moment when they asked me that tough question, I realized that I struggle with relationships, and then we started to talk deeper. Well, why do I struggle with relationships? And then I realized it had a lot to do with my childhood and what I went through as a childhood. And I had trust issues, and I, always was thinking the worst of maybe individuals or people that would get close to me, men in general. So it stemmed from a conversation with my good friends, Jamie and Lee. And, we had this big idea of, well, let's do a documentary series. Let's do Netflix. Let's film it. And just that got really daunting, and it got kind of like overwhelming. And then that's when I saw another friend that he had written a book with you, Jose, and I just reached out to him, because when you have a network of people, you kind of just ask questions. And so that idea turned into talking with you. And then that's when the journey began. And I don't even regret it. It's been a long process. I know your company is self-published in 30 days. Candace, it took a while, but I'm so glad I was patient in the process. And the process everyone's process is different. And I'm very grateful for the process that I went through. But honestly, that's what it was. It was that conversation, kind of spoke what I really wanted to do. And, we had an outline for the film per se, and that outline became the outline for my book. And here we are with the content in the book Unspoken, which I'm so happy that is finally out there for the public to read and embrace. So.
Well, when I think about this, and it goes back, you brought up the word network. And I hear people, they think it's a cliche, they think it's not real, but your network is your net worth. And what we're saying about that, it's just not monetary as well. It's just about actually having access to resources, having access to people who could be a benefit. Now, for Candace, it was allowing her to be able to connect with a publisher, to connect with individuals who that was their lane, or that was their area of expertise. For some of you, it might be, someone who is can help your daughter or your son or whatnot, in their math homework or whatnot. So, even with me, with the shows that we do, I was able to interview someone, Candace, and then the stuff was going on with the COVID-19 situation. And the young lady owned a virtual private training or whatnot, where she had a cohort of individuals, no matter what lane that the students were in, or what your children were in, that she could help benefit them. So I know we get heavy on the monetary part of it, or your network, and that's important too. I don't want to knock that, but here it is. Candace gave us a perfect segue to go into the importance of networking with the right people. And let's look at it too for the EQ. Let's look at the emotional value that this has as well, by having someone who actually understands your journey, understands the importance, not someone that's laughing at it and like, oh, could you really be an author? Who do you think you are? You're not Ernest Hemingway. You're not Warren Buffett. You're not, Oprah Winfrey or someone, Carlos Slim. Who are you to write a book? But that's the difference between getting it done and not getting it done for some of those who are listening out here, because you didn't get the benefit that Candace had with someone actually encouraging her, but she had the right network before the opportunity came. Let me repeat that. She had the right network before the opportunity came. So some of us are fumbling the ball, so to speak, or self-sabotaging ourselves because we're already limited in our own beliefs. And because the people that we're hanging around are toxic as well, is limiting us from moving forward on opportunities because we think that we can't instead of thinking that we can. Do you agree with that, Candace, on the importance of networking and environment?
Absolutely. I mean, your network is, like you said, your net worth. And I'm so grateful. I have tons of networks. And when you think about yourself, right, you have your family is your first network. You have your close friends. You know, I'm lucky enough to have my sorority. I'm lucky enough to have my healthcare IT professionals, you know, and I've just branched out. I mean, you know, from, and every employer, you know, I changed employers. I mean, the name change, you know, I was Curtin Medical Group, and then we were All Saints, and then we were Covenant with Wheaton, and then, you know, Ascension. And I just think about that was every network of growing, and every role that I took, I met a new work family, and it just grew and grew. And now I'm working for Advocate Aurora and another healthcare organization and that network. And now I work with people in Illinois. So it's just, again, it's like, don't limit yourself, you know, expand your horizons, reach out to those. You know, I'm always on LinkedIn now, and that's what I do is I kind of search for opportunities for other people. I'm trying to be a people connector. You know, if people put something in my ear, like, hey, Candace, how did you do this? I'll let them know, well, I reached out to so-and-so, or how did you do that? You know, and mentorship, coaching, aligning yourself with the right people, getting counsel. You know, I believe in all of that. So, you know, for me, I think that was important for my success too, is like I said, you just surround yourself with some really good people. And I think about my journey, and, you know, and I tell this story, my good friend, you know, I used to just carry cash. I should cash my check and put the cash in my purse. I never knew what a checking account was. I didn't know how to balance a checkbook, anything like that. And she was like, why? My cash would be gone in like 5 days, you know, and I'm a mother with 2 kids. Like, what was I thinking? And she really helped to teach me, you know. So again, I was learning nuggets of great information from others, you know, as I got older in my profession, you know, investing, understanding what retirement planning was, you know, how to prepare for your future. You know, and at that time, I mean, I made okay money, but I wasn't making enough to put anything away. But then again, you know, you make a goal, and, you know, I went back to school, got my degree. I was able to advance in my career. And then that's when the opportunities just started to open up, you know, doors for me. And so, yeah, so I think your network is huge, and don't limit yourself. Reach out to people, get out of your comfort zone. You know, you have to ask people, what did they do in order to get where they are? And that will take you. And like I said, working with Darren and his company, I wouldn't be here without their guidance and their support. And, you know, every person you work with, Darren, you know, every author, every story, you know, business, or, you know, the impact of what their journey is, it's all meaningful. So, I mean, I'm so thankful that we connected through our network and the network that we had. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And you brought up some good things, and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper in what you just shared. But I want to go ahead and acknowledge too as well. We got Jane. Jane said, Candace, you are such an inspiration as well. Once again, we had Tara that was giving the hand claps to us earlier. And then we have someone that you know of too, the good Dr. Charlie.
Dr. Charlie, yes.
Woo!
Mama Charlie.
Amazing author. There you go. The book mama herself. You know, the
That's
book
right.
mama herself. So she's in the building as well. And even I want to knock out my man Martin. Martin showing some love. I guess he heard that football message, and he had to.
I'm sorry. My bad. I got
no, he's actually on your side, Candace. He's on your side.
Gotcha.
He's giving me a hard time. Yeah, he's giving me a hard time or whatnot. So they're reaching out. But one thing though that I think that's important for those who are watching to be able to pick up from you too as well, Candace, is that even though that you are a brilliant woman, you know, saying you're beautiful inside and out, you got a great work ethic, and you have a ravenous appetite to learn. And so, but I see this as a hiccup for some people, Candace, that you have that I think is a superpower to you, is that you don't allow pride to get in the way for you learning. What you just brought up, when you were just cashing a check, you were totally transparent. You just said, I didn't know, which all of us start somewhere. None of us just come with batteries included, so to speak. But you are transparent. It's so many others that they want to hide behind and keep a facade that they know something when they actually don't. But you brought up interesting enough that you said, hey, be willing to ask somebody, be willing to reach out, be willing to seek out help and advice that can be beneficial for you, so you don't have to stay there. So by you understanding the importance of a checking account, then you got the opportunity to go to school and be able to advance in your career. Now the skill set that you had learned when it was planted in you earlier, now you was able to yield fruit and be able to bring a harvest in because you was prepared for that opportunity. A wise man once told me, Candace, he said, preparation precedes blessings. And so when I think about what you just shared with us, it was the preparation that led to it. It wasn't like it was instant like coffee, but at the same time, you prepared yourself and was willing to ask and reach out. And I see that you continue to do that throughout your career. So I can see areas where everyone doesn't look like you as far as the type of work that you do, whether in gender or your ethnicity, but you've still been able to reach and go and climb past those obstacles and jump over those hurdles because you are able to be able to bridge the gap no matter where someone is on the socioeconomic ladder, no matter what their ethnicity is, no matter what the culture is, you're able to continue to evolve. Can you speak to people out there, Candace, about the importance of asking or being willing to not allow pride to hinder them from going to the next level?
Yes. I remember, in 2014, I kind of hit a wall. I kind of was stuck a little bit. We were going through some transformation at my employer, and I wasn't being like developed or coached because of the transformation. And so I took it upon myself. I was finding that I was going to work, but I was in a bad mood. I was having an attitude. People could tell that I wasn't myself. Candace is usually happy. She's usually, a good person to be around. And I was probably rubbing people the wrong way, in all honesty. And then I said, I have to do something different. And so that's when I hired a life coach. I went outside and I hired a life coach, and it was amazing within the first month. And it's stuff that but you just forget or you put it to the side. And, I had to really just kind of look at myself and say, well, what areas do I really need to work on it? And she reminded me that not every quadrant of your life is going to be perfect, and it's not going to always be 10s across the board. You're going to have 5s in one quadrant. You're going to be 10 in another quadrant. That's what life is. It ebbs and it flows. You just have to be adaptable to changing your tone, your methods, and what you do. Put things in your toolbox so that you can properly adjust, and adapt to whatever's going to come your way. Like when you talked about resilient, right? So it's like just brushing your shoulders off and just moving on. You have a bad day, you get into a disagreement, you just got to keep it moving, and really by the grace of God, it's just trying to stay positive and stay up, because, when you're down, you're down. And I try very hard not to get into the whole self-pity or get down and out, because I'm my worst critic. Like I am my worst critic. And so I try very hard to just not do that. And then, having that emotional intelligence, if you find that you're getting that way, again, all right, this isn't me. I need to adjust my attitude, let me brush it off and just tomorrow's a new day, midnight, the clock, it's a new day. So you always have something to look forward to. Tomorrow's always a brighter day. So, and that's just really as far as, I didn't want to let pride get in the way. I knew I needed to make a change for myself. And honestly, when I look at my life coach plan from 2014, I put on there, and I looked at it not too long ago, and I put on there that I wanted to write a book. And I am so amazed, because when you write an action plan or you put something to paper, you write a vision board, you put something in motion, whether it's a checklist, whether it's Post-it notes, whatever it is, that's having vision, and you're setting a goal for yourself. And I shocked myself going, oh my God, I did write that. Look at what I did. Look at what I accomplished. And, I have 2 vision boards that I look every time I get up in the morning, I look at them, and I'm happy, because that's the vision that I want for my life. That's what I'm going for. And I'm not done. I need to create a new one. So I'm going to create a 3rd vision board now.
Come on now.
It's all about the next step. So
it's all
always
about
growing and developing. Yep.
Always the goals. And I can tell it right now while you're saying that people can't see it, but right in front of me is a vision board that I keep even at the office or whatnot. I got printouts on my mirror at the house and different things or whatnot. Like you said, so it's constantly in front of me or whatnot. So you're creating a life by design. And when we talk about life by design, it's a thing that we have called Unspoken by an author that you might know by the name of my girl, Candace Sanchez.
Yes,
Yes, she
yes.
did that. If you don't mind, let's talk about some of the chapters in the book. Do you have anyone in particular that you want to start off with? What about, do you want to deal with grandma's house? I don't want to go too deep or too shallow. If you could just kind of guide me, which chapter did you want to start with?
Sure. I mean, I think the most important chapter for me was my dedication, just, really contributing and thanking the people that have been the force in my life. I'm all about relationships. It's not always perfect. It's not always peaches and cream, but, we're family and we're friends, and I have a great support system. So, like I said, to anybody listening out there, just circle around yourself with some good people, and you'll be just fine. So a dedication. I got to give a shout out to my friend Jeremy Chavez, who wrote my foreword. I thought that really set the precedent for the book. He really opened it up for me. And then before I get started into any chapters, my sorority sister, in the final, in August, I was on this push to get this book done, and she helped me make sure, from a grammatic, from a flow, from a punctuation to just, it was amazing. So I just have to say, shout out to my sister. She knows who she is. I love you and thank you for that. But yes, let's talk about grandma's house. Let's go into chapter 2. And really, Darren, this was a really tough book to write, and that it took me 3 years because of the content. And I just want to let all of the people know who bought it, thank you. And thanks for reading it, because I had a call of action. I said, don't just buy it to buy it. Buy it and read it, and let's see what kind of conversations start. And I can tell you that has happened. And I am so grateful that the impact that I dreamed that it would have, it's having. And I appreciate everyone sending me messages and text messages and sending me emails about what their experience is, or what they're thinking about, or who they overheard talking about my book at a restaurant. I mean, like, really? Oh my God. I mean, it makes me feel warm inside. It makes me feel like all those hours and time. And I was very patient with the process. It was a tough process, but I did it. And yeah, because the content in grandma's house, I think is where it begins. As a child, I was molested, by family members. And so that's a very hard topic to talk about. And, the way I kind of, you hate to say, like, you paint a picture, but it's what I remember. It's the scenarios and the way is in my mind. Right. And, as a kid, or you grow up, there's some things you block or whatnot, but, those are the most vivid, and they were difficult to describe, to talk about. And that's where it started, and then it continued, as we go on to the book. And so, I know it's a tough read for all of you out there. It's a tough read, and it's going to make people uncomfortable, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. I mean, I'm just going to say it like that. And I feel like now is the time, and I'm so at peace with everything, because also, when you talk about the ending of the chapter, I end on forgiveness. I end about, forgiveness is huge, because, there's power in that, and the power is more for me than anybody else. So so between grandma's house and the forgiveness chapter, those are my 2 key ones, that I was hoping we could talk about.
Yeah, and when you bring that up, it's a conversation that's tough, but I think that it's also a conversation that must be had. And like you said, this is a starter. This to create the conversations. It's not an easy fix for anyone, because we all have our own thoughts or way that we're processing certain things. Some of us that might have been through a tough time, some aren't willing to, come forward, and people we totally understand that. Some have to come on their own time. And then you got the other end. I think that you did a good job of addressing this as well, of the importance of those who could be around, even. Let me make sure I put this right.
Mm-hmm.
So family, friends, and loved ones who feel a certain type of way because they was there, or they feel a certain way because they weren't able to do anything, or they stood by in some, not saying this is the scenario with you, but there's others who are listening who this is not something just limited to Candace. Even with my own family, is several family members in my own family, and you've talked about this too offline or whatnot when you was talking about doing it, and I was telling you how important it was that they experienced the same type of thing, but no one said anything about it. And so now you would just have one child or one person after another that was faced with this horrific situation because nobody, what happens in this house stays in this house type of mentality. And then it continues to go on and everyone is hush mouth about it, but the people are affected by it. And then we see the outlash later on in life in certain circumstances to see why someone is so fear prone because of some of the things that had happened. But I'm bringing this up because a lot of times we can identify with but it's multiple victims. I like to say that at a certain time, but we know we're victorious too as well. But until you come into that state or that mind, those who are around feel a certain type of way. So let's talk about that, Candace, if you don't mind too. Even with your writing, you dealt with some difficult things. How were you able to get through what others would think about the book? It's your truth, but you're not the only one who I've had that conversation with. That stuff happened, but they still have a phobia of how is this going to impact dad, or how is this going to impact mom, or what are my sisters going to think, or what are my brother-in-law or sister-in-law or aunts going to think. So how were you able to get past that to focus on the book?
Yeah, so that was very tough. I think personally for me, it was just, I always thought about my mom. I didn't want to hurt my mom. She was the person that I loved the most, and I just didn't want to, hurt my mom. And, I just grew up respecting family, right or wrong. I mean, which is why I think forgiveness is huge. And not all of it was always bad either. So, I was the type of person where I always saw the positive, even though I was going through the negative. How you get that skill set, and I did have that skill set at a very young age, is that I still focused on the positive. I still saw good in people, regardless of what was going on to me, with me, around me. And then I think about, like, going through this journey, like, I was worried about what people would think. I was worried if my family would accept me, or, why now, or question it. And I'm so grateful that they're all at least understanding. And some of them have told me, honestly, I can't read it, Candace. It's too painful. And I'm not expecting anyone to choose, pick sides. No, this is just about my story. I'm be honest, I didn't want to take this to the grave with me, especially COVID 2020. If I were to get COVID and did not finish my book, I had that fear of, what if something happened to me and then I go die with this and no one will ever know? I didn't want to live like that. To me, there's more freedom in that expression of, I can breathe, that sigh of relief. I'm free of, like I say, I'm free of the shame, free of the guilt, free of the worry, free of I don't want to be afraid anymore. Where I revert to that 5-year-old little girl, or that 11-year-old girl that I talk about in the book. No more. That little girl is a grown up now, and I see as myself as an adult, and I'm like, when I was writing this book, I couldn't believe it was my story. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, it's unbelievable. It's unimaginable. And that's why it took me 3 years. I was very patient with the process, because yes, it was depressing. Yes, it was sad. Yes, it was hard. It was not easy, but it had to be done. I had to tell it, because I just didn't know. Again, with 2020, it was my push to get it done, because I didn't want something to happen to me and then I take it to the grave. And that's what so many people do, is they take those dark secrets. They don't want to have the courage, or they just think, it's their fault. And no, it's not. And there's been other survivors that have spoken up and told their story, and they inspired me to continue on my journey. They encouraged me. And it's men and women. It's not just women, it's men too. So, and it's all flavors, all backgrounds. It doesn't even matter. It's in every different types of environment. So, so yeah, so was I worried? Was I scared? But I had to conquer that fear. And I feel, when I say I can breathe, I can breathe. I feel at peace, and I feel I'm very blessed and happy that I finally just accomplished it, that I'm done. Like, it's done, it's out there, and I'm, no turning back. We're here. And I want to start this conversation. Like, and that's what I told people in the book. I called out to the readers. I called out to anybody that has issues or content or questions. Like, please come talk to me. Not really an issue, but a concern, or didn't understand. Let's have the conversation. I want to understand what you're thinking and what I'm thinking, and just to have a common understanding. There's no right or wrong, right? I'm not here about right or wrong. Just like I said, I'll forgive. I'll never forget, but I'll forgive. That's my choice. Not everybody will make that choice, and that's okay too. It's on your time. But, and if I can be their voice and I can tell their story, I don't have to say who they are. That's my platform. That's what I'm now using my platform. Besides the book, I'm an entrepreneur to do my podcast. That's the next thing. I'm doing my recordings. I'm getting my episodes in line. And, I can't wait to continue to use the platform to help others heal. That's the goal and purpose. And I feel it starts with me. I had to heal first before I could try to help anybody else.
There you go. And that's amazing. And for those who are looking at, we got some comments out. I don't want to forget them. Tara says, thanks for being open and real with us. It's powerful. And Dr. Charlie said, Candace did a great job of introducing tough topics and a difficult story with grace and truth that everyone can read through. And so thank you so much for Tara and Dr. Charlie. And then I also don't want to forget, I think Miss Flores showing some love out there with the fist pump or whatnot. We don't want to forget her as well. Much love, Miss Flores. And so when we look at this, I want those who are listening to this to understand the power of forgiveness. And like you say, Candace is not speaking for everyone else. She's just sharing her story of being positive as well, and knowing that it was for her. It's therapeutic for her, because there are some who hoard that unforgiveness or actually lock on to hate. And unfortunately, I've seen some that it ends up showing up in different ways that I didn't want to see. Others didn't want to see, whether it be vices or whether it just where it just eats away at them because they hadn't let go of certain things. And I'm not saying that you're going to have coffee with someone or go and visit them every day and say hello and send them a gift card or whatnot to Costco or whatnot. But at the same time, I want you to understand the power of forgiveness for yourself. Understand that that's important. And I also want to deal with what you talked about, the relationships, though, Candace, because how were you able to first address that it was an issue with you in relationships, and how were you able to move past that?
I think for me, it was just acknowledging the fact that I struggled. Being molested as a child, I'm going to admit I was very promiscuous, very loose, very just kind of not caring about myself because I was being treated a certain way, and things were happening to me. So what do I care? That's kind of that whole path of destruction. Did I want to be that way? But people didn't know either what was going on. So people were passing judgment or, calling me certain names because I'm being that way. And then and then it unfortunately led into my 20s. It wasn't a good look. And having a good time and partying and kicking it and all that, and still trying to be a mom, go to work. Like, it was just like change needed to happen. And again, I'm perfectly imperfect. Let me say that I'm perfectly imperfect because, that's exactly what life and the journey of life is all about. You go through stuff, things happen, you overcome, and you just pick yourself up. And again, if it wasn't for a circle of people around me helping me along the way, I wouldn't be where I am today. And then when I admitted that it was struggles with relationships, I went to therapy. I went and saw a licensed professional therapist, and I got therapy for years. And she helped me through all of that. And she was the professional, and she gave me things to help me that I recognized, and how my childhood was tied to the way I was behaving and the decisions and the choices that I was making. So I understood the connection, right? And then that's where healing started to happen. And things started to change, and I started to take control of my life in the way I wanted it to go. And And so and so now, like, when I think about relationships, it's still not 100%. No relationship is ever perfect, but I know that I'm still working on me, and I'm a better person. I try hard sometimes, and I think it's always different with family than it is with work colleagues. So it's always different, right? But still, I mean, either way, it's always trying to be a better person. And now, I don't have trust issues. I tend to trust people a little bit more. And I allow people to get close to me, and I'm grateful that I've kind of let that door open up, and I'm able to, be in a relationship that's more meaningful and healthy and exclusive, where it's just me and that person, and it's good, whereas, I didn't always even want to give that a chance. I wasn't open to it, or I was afraid. And that fear was taking over me because of what happened, and I wasn't willing to let anybody in because of that. And so now, again, feeling at peace and knowing how I've worked on myself has just helped me be a better person, so that I can be in a healthier, happier relationship.
Man, that's amazing. Now, before we move on, because I think you did a great job of addressing all of that, but I know some are wondering about this because of what you have experienced. It's one thing at work and it's one thing in a relationship, but you got two girls. So did that ever cross your mind too, as well, far as not ever really wanting anybody far as a male around because of what happened? Was that an issue as well for you, or just more of just relationship of people getting close to you, period?
No, like I said, I was not, what I say, perfectly imperfect. So I made a lot of bad choices. I might have had people around my daughters, but I felt like I tried very hard to protect them. My daughters knew at a very young age what had happened to me. Between myself and their father, who I speak about in the book, Randy, once I told him, that was it. He knew, and he was going to protect his daughters the best way he could, which is what I speak about in the book. And I thank him for that. But he was ready, and I wasn't at the time. So, and even thinking about those times, it was hard. And that's where a lot of the, dysfunction happens. And that's where a lot of the hurt and the fights and, the anger. We were kids having kids, and then dealing with this adult situation of what had happened to me as a kid. So, to put all of that in a bag and trying to, pick out of the bag, there's just no way. It was just, you've got a bunch of things in the bag and they just aren't mixing well. And it was tough, and I feel like my girls had to grow up really fast. They had to really be aware fast. And I was, if they wouldn't sleep over people's houses, people would sleep at our house. I had the sleepovers because I wanted to make sure my girls were safe. In 2006, they went to Europe, and they were going to go to Europe on an educational tour. And guess what? Mom's like, I'm going. You're not going. I'm going with you. So, I mean, even at that high school age, I was still, being that mom that was trying to make sure I was protecting them and doing everything in my power to protect them. And then it shifts when they're adults. It's always different when they're, adult children, but, so it's interesting. So again, that's probably going to be part of the Life After Unspoken, the second book that I will be writing, because it's all part of that additional journey. Because there were a lot of events that were transpired that just, with relationships and hardships and the dynamic, and Randy constantly wanting to, get that taken care of. And I wasn't ready to address any of it. I acted like it still hadn't happened. People were still around in my life, and I was pretending it was all okay. And it wasn't. And I talk about a little bit how I regret that. That is a regret that I have. And I talk to that in the book. Yeah. But that's a lesson that you learn, right? And now I can reflect on it and make it right.
Yeah. And some of you out there who wondered, what she's talking about, get the book. Get the book. Get the book.
Please get the book and read it. And let me know what you think.
That's it. You gotta get the book. If you want to know more, you gotta get the book. And and so I had to bring that up. But when you look at this, what gets to me too is being able to have the full circle blessings as well that you explore. Just looking at the journey of being open to the counseling. Those who out there who think to yourself, I don't want nobody to know that I went and saw a counselor, a licensed professional, or no, I don't want nobody saying that I went and and I spoke with a shrink or whatever the situation, whatever name you want to call it. But what we want you to understand, and what Candace has did an excellent job of sharing in the book, and also tonight on the virtual book lunch, is the importance of let's stop perpetrating. We all have, I like to call it like Hillsong, glorious ruins, that it doesn't become glorious unless you get the type of help that you need. And so some of us are still carrying baggage that we shouldn't be carrying. Some of us there are people around us that are being hurt because we're not addressing our own stuff, or we are worried about people who don't even care about us, what they think, compared to actually getting the help for the people who love us the most. So I just want to make a plea out to some of those who are listening today or tonight, and just if you won't do it for you, do it for those who love you. And I'm really sincere about that. Because Candace is doing an excellent job. This is not about being perfect, but you see, she was still able to be a mother, a great mother. She was able to be transparent. Nobody is perfect. It's not a perfect person out there. So even those who are listening, just because someone doesn't know, or you think they don't know what you've been through or what you've done or what has happened to you, doesn't mean that you don't have your own issues and own things that you're battling with behind closed doors. So we know that is true. So, you don't have to tell everyone, but at the same time, we know that it exists. All we're saying right now, whether it's listening to someone about getting a checking account, whether it's learning about diversifying and getting your portfolio right, whether it's, hey, addressing that, I was young or I'm older and I still made a mistake. Yeah, I might feel stupid about it. Yeah, I might feel shameful about it. But you know what? I'm not going to allow a circumstance or an event in my life to dictate my destiny. Keep that in mind for those who are listening out there. Don't allow one event or a situation or a season in your life to dictate your destiny. You are bigger than that. For those who need a football analogy out there, for the guys who are listening, you can't have one bad quarter and think that's the game. You got to play the whole game. So when we talk about life happens. And I think, Candace, you did an excellent job with your daughters, because I have 2 daughters of my own. And that's the main thing that I keep sharing with them, is that, as the great Mike Tyson once said, everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So I can try to protect you all day long, and I'm going to do that. I can share. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to make some decisions. At the end of the day, you're going to make some decisions sometimes that I don't agree with. Sometimes that you're going to even regret yourself. But the main thing is, don't take yourself out thinking that you can't overcome it. And that's what I love about you, Candace. You could have ended up with drug addiction. You could have been suicide. You could be in a local strip club or escorting, or in an abusive relationship. But here you are now, standing as a published author. You've raised 2 beautiful girls. You're still moving forward in your career. You still are excelling. You're being transparent and being a leader and a hero to so many, because you're being a voice for those who are unspoken, those who are afraid and won't come out, will never share what you shared. But at the same time, the peace that you feel, the relief that you feel, they have unspoken now, and they're able to feel that as well. So you're able to minister to them. So Candace, before we get out of here, I know you got some other things. I want you to speak to those out there who are dealing with it. Some of them might be crying online right now. Some of them might be ecstatic because they feel that they got hope that they can overcome this. Can you just speak to that person out there that their husband don't know, the children don't know, even their mom and dad don't know some of the things that have happened, but they struggle with it? Could you speak to them on the power of hope and that they can come through this?
Absolutely. So, you just have to, live in faith and not by fear. And it's calm over chaos. I mean, those are the things that I'll state. And I know that, I talk at the end of my book, I talk about by the grace of God, and I end with the Bible verse, because when I read that Bible verse, I know it's because there's a bigger force than myself that is guiding my path and is protecting me. And so for those of you that are out there that are, afraid to come out or afraid to speak your truth, I know what that feels like. And I feel that, find resources, that if you want to get licensed professional help, don't be afraid to ask for that help. I think we've talked a lot about that. You can reach out to another survivor. That's why I'm here. That's why I published my book. You can find me on all types of outlets. I'm here for you. You just need someone to listen to. You just need to get it off your chest so you don't take it to the grave. And again, we are powerful in numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
just because you don't want to speak your voice and say your name and have your face all over cover, and people are like, is that you? Like, yeah, that's me. And they just, again, you can do this. You can tell your story if you want to, and you have someone here, me, willing to listen to that. And there's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of us out there. And I'm just here. Like I said, I want to be that voice, that advocate. I talk about in my book that I'm done being silent. I refuse to be silent.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2020, this is my claim to not being silent anymore. I was able to do a lot of reflecting in this 2020. I'm sure most of you have all been sitting back, just thinking about your lives. It's all you're doing is probably thinking, right? And so I am very grateful that I have clarity, that I have peace, and I can help bring that to you or help you come to that point. And again, forgiveness, might not be an option for you, and that's
Mm-hmm.
quite all right. I'm not saying you have to. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's everyone's time, but there is power in forgiving of yourself. Forgive yourself before you even worry about everybody else. Do that for yourself, and you'll feel empowered. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just here to inspire and encourage and motivate those that are listening. That you have hope. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening. You would have done shut this off, or you wouldn't have bought my book. So I'm here for you. And that's what I'll end with, Darren, is I'm here for any of those people that are listening that want an ear. I'm here.
Wow, wow, wow. I'm telling you, man, Candace is so awesome. I'm telling you, I love hearing her speak all day long. I can just do this all day long. I'll give some shout out to some people who showing some love. Maria is showing love. She got the hand claps up there showing love. And we got Maria up there. Then we got, okay, Miss Flores said, I'm reading the book. Proud of you, Candace, to be open. Air hugs and thank you for being a voice. Sorry, cousin, go Cowboys. Laugh out loud. I wish we had a praying church. I wish we had a praying church. Go ahead, then, Miss Flores. I'm telling you, all right in my book. All right, let's see here. So, let's see. We also had the young lady. I think it's that. What is that, Candace?
Lizeth Brito. Hi, Lizeth. Yeah.
Okay. She's saying, so proud of you, Candace. Thank you for sharing your story. That is amazing as well. Okay, and then we got Bobby Dyer. You rock, girl. Come on. Come on now. That's it. That's it. I think it's all mutual. That feeling is mutual, Bobby. That feeling is mutual. If you don't mind, Candace, could you tell them where can they purchase a copy of the book for some
Yes.
who didn't know, don't know where to get it? Can you share that information?
Absolutely. So my book, Unspoken by Candace Sanchez, is available on Amazon. So please check me out on Amazon. And tomorrow, drum roll, I am having a book event, a signing book event in Racine, my hometown. And I'm so grateful to the Main Project and Cafe, DeAndre Mayfield, is allowing me to have my book signing event at his coffee shop. So what I say is, grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, and get a signature from me. So yes, so I will be there in person from 10 in the morning until 1, and you'll be able to get copies there. So if you bought yours on Amazon, bring it in. I'll sign it. If you want another copy to share with someone that might need to read it, you can pick up a copy for their Christmas stocking. I'll have extra copies there. So I'm so excited to have that event. If you'll see my poster kind of like behind me, I have my poster board ready for tomorrow. So I'm really excited. I'm so grateful. I'm very humbled by this experience. And for any of you guys out there, if you have a story, please share it. And like I said, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm sending virtual hugs to everybody out there that needs one. So.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we thank you, Candace, for coming on. I know that Candace will be able to update you also. Make sure that you follow her too as well. Candace, where can they find you on social media, if you don't mind, for those who are listening who might want to catch you on Instagram or LinkedIn? Where can they find you?
Absolutely. Yes. So my social media platforms that I use is, of course, my personal Facebook page. If you want to find me, friend me. But I also have a podcast Facebook page. So it's a spin off the book. So the podcast is called Unspoken Conversations with Candace. So that is my podcast Facebook page. So I do a lot of content up there. And then I do have my Instagram, which is I Can Beautify You on Instagram. So yeah, and I'm also on LinkedIn. So you can look me up as my healthcare IT professional, and then I do my entrepreneur on the side. So again, anyone looking for a life coach, motivational speaker at an event, virtual. I know we're all virtual, but that's okay. I'm doing all my life coach appointments I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays are all virtual. So yep, just looking to branch out on my entrepreneurship. And I'm here to counsel and coach you and help inspire others. And, if you're a survivor and you need someone to talk to, I'm your girl. Hopefully you'll come, share your platform and maybe be on my podcast. Again, you don't have to show your face. You can just have your voice. So looking forward to that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, we know Candace, being the best-selling author and all, she got book signings in the morning or whatnot. We want to make sure that she get a beauty rest, so we want to make sure we take care of her. But we want to thank all of you who tuned in tonight. We appreciate the heartfelt comments, the words of encouragement, the claps, the Go Cowboys, all the above. Like the multiple choice, all the above. But most importantly, we're here to celebrate a real hero or shero by the name of Candace Sanchez. So being a publisher too, I want to speak from that part before we get out of here, that you came in, shout out to Jose for doing the connection. But when you first talked to me it resonated with me because like I said, I had family members. Some things are still even coming out even here in 2020 with some events that happened to family members that others didn't even know about. And, you see it coming out and showing up in others' lives and people didn't know what was going on. And you can see that if it's not addressed, it can be generational. And so when me and you talk, I was just, even though it was a journey and it was like 3 years on the writing, I never did quit. I never did allow the staff to quit because you didn't quit either. But because we knew the power of this story, and we knew that that there would be forces that would try to keep this from coming out because of the awareness and the conversations that would be made. But we know some people will be made whole by this type of story. They knew that they can move forward in life. This will cut down on somebody committing suicide because of the story that you're doing with this book. And the great thing about this, Candace, is that this will outlive us. You have done something that will outlive us. You will still be touching lives because you chose to take a small portion of the years of your life. I know you're nothing but about probably 22 years old right now. 3 years, 3 years, so I might be off a year or two, but at the same time, those dedicated years for 3 years will be for generations. And so for those who are listening to this and you're thinking about sharing a story, whether it's with our company or not, share your story. Someone needs you. Don't get caught up thinking that you have to be a huge name and you worried about being an Amazon bestseller or being a New York Times bestseller. Know that it's someone who's counting on you. They're not going to read my story. They might not even read Candace's story, but they're waiting on your story. So don't let that person down. Don't let that person down. Well, Candace, we thank you so much. I'm giving some shout out to all those who responded again. Once again, nothing but love. Do you have any last comments, Candace, before we close it out for the night? Because this is your night, girl. You did it.
No, honestly, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has purchased the book, read the book. Your feedback and just the messages has been extremely, extremely felt. I mean, there's days I'd just be driving in my car and I start crying because I'm just blessed. I'm so happy and I'm so grateful. And again, I'm very humbled by this experience and just to know that people are feeling it. And I had a couple people call me and, sad or crying. Oh my God, and I'm like, hey, I'm here. Like, don't cry. It's all good. And then, teachers reaching out and thinking about their students. And so it's interesting, or their daughters, their nieces, their nephews, and the conversations that I have had has been amazing. And that's what I wanted with my book, is to open up the dialogue. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I can't say it enough, and I appreciate it. And I can't wait to see everybody at the book signing tomorrow in Racine. Woo, excited.
Awesome. So y'all make sure that y'all show up. Y'all connect with Candace on all the social media platforms. Also be looking out for the podcast that'll be dropping too as well. And also those who will listen to this, she has consulting or coaching, life coaching going on. So reach out, get scheduled. You're dealing with someone who's been able to make that step, make that quantum leap from where she was in darkness to operating in light. That opportunity can be for you. She sought out help. She sought out expert opinion. Why don't you do the same thing? We're dealing with the author herself, Candace Sanchez. But we thank all of you for tuning in for this virtual book launch of Unspoken by the very own Candace Sanchez. We thank God for you, Candace. Thank you for continuing to be a change agent who are making a change and blessing people locally and globally. Until next time, all of you all out there, keep sharing the good word and the good news, and purchase the book. Purchase the book. Get you a copy.
Thank you. Yes.
Go to Amazon. But we're going to next time. Y'all have a blessed one and be safe.